Well, the next one is one that is interesting because as a kid, I grew up in the public school system and learned all about the dangers and the policies, and it was just normal civics. We had to have civics growing up in elementary school and in high school, and that is the belief system. I believe actually it's a belief system. It's an ideology of socialism. Socialism, communism, socialism. You think of Russia, in my day, Soviet Union, but there's other socialistic areas and practices in the world. What does the Bible say about it? The Bible calls it evil, quite frankly. The Bible nowhere acknowledges socialism as a good thing. The interesting thing is this: Karl Marx, one of the fathers of modern day socialism, he used the book of Acts to argue for communal living under the rule of socialism. He cited that the early believers in Jerusalem decided to sell all the things that they each individually owned and make a common pot. You've all read that in the Bible? Guess what? Did God tell them to do that? Did God tell them to do that? He did not. They did it. Doesn't say God told them to do it. And within a decade, the church in Jerusalem was starving to death. They had lost their properties, they had lost their incomes, they were starving to death, and the church, the New Testament churches that were born by the Apostle Paul in Asia Minor had to send money to the church in Jerusalem to sustain them because they had starved, because they had sold everything, and in a communal pot, very quickly it evaporates. Socialism has never worked. It's never worked anywhere. Europe is reeling from failed socialism. The Soviet Union imploded. China is growing right now. Get this, China is only growing because in the last 25 years, China has embraced capitalism. Isn't that funny? Isn't it funny? Listen, the truth of the matter is no one has ever worked for a poor man. You've never worked for a poor person. Socialism keeps people poor. You say, no, it doesn't. It makes everybody equal. Oh, no, it doesn't. Socialism sucks from the common pot that those who are common put into it so that everyone's common. Everyone is common. Why have we never seen that in the world? Why, where communism and socialism and the isms are in power, there's a few at the top of the food chain while the workers do all the building. Isn't that interesting? Socialism will never work because men are desiring of other men's stuff. Men are greedy. So theoretically, in a sense, it works in the head. It doesn't work in practice. And so here's where the Bible supports. The Bible says, if a man does not work hard with his own hands, neither shall that man eat. Well, that goes against socialism. The Bible says that we should strive to do whatever we do to the best of our ability. We should provide. The Bible says if a man does not provide for his own home, he's worse than a non-believer. The Bible talks about God blessing us monetarily with obedience to God. The book of Proverbs is replete with words of wisdom on how to get wealthy and to have a sustained life. The Bible says that the lazy man reaches over to the pot of the man who has something and he is rebuked. His hand is pushed away, and God says, you just keep pushing his hand away. Listen, what are you supposed to do with somebody who will not work? Isn't that a problem? It's a big issue. What do you do with somebody who's too lazy to work? It's a big problem. See, today in California and in the United States, we reward laziness and we exalt socialism and say, well, everybody needs to have the same thing. We need to penalize the guys that work hard and make the money. We need to penalize Mark Zuckerberg. We need to penalize Bill Gates. We should penalize Oprah Winfrey. We should penalize, now I just saw in the news this morning, Barack Obama. Barack Obama's worth almost $20 million now since he got out of office. Hey, we need to take his money away. You think Obama's going to give up his $20 million bucks? You think Oprah's going to give it up? Do you think Bill Gates is going to give it up and become poor? You say, yeah, but they've given up a lot of money. They're not poor. Here's the deal. They shouldn't give up all their money. They can share, they can do whatever they want to do. That's their choice. But the truth of the matter is, global activity has always rewarded hard work. What's wrong with our culture today is lazy people want what the rich guy who has worked hard to get. They don't want to work for it. They want it handed to them. It's called entitlement. Entitlement is a sister to socialism. Entitlement and socialism is the foundation for the austerity programs. Austerity programs is where we use the westernized version called welfare. And welfare as it's used today is destroying the United States. Welfare works fine for those who cannot work. But for those who can work and do not work because they choose not to, that is socialism. I want what you have because I don't want to work. And the Bible says you do not get to eat. Why? Because your hungry tummy, the book of Proverbs says, will force you to go to work. And I think that's great. Bottom line is this: when you work hard, you have great self-esteem, you have great vision, you have great self-worth, and you have a tendency to bring others with you because you'll employ them, you'll hire them, you'll need to hire them because your hard work's being rewarded. So listen, in our public school system today, socialism's being exalted. That's a dead end. Hasn't worked anywhere, it's not gonna work. Listen, our next and final installment for our worldview, how to vote, how to engage the culture mini-series is coming up next time around, and I hope you'll tune in as we end it together, preparing for how to conduct ourselves as believers, and certainly how to vote right, how to vote logically in our upcoming elections.